Welcome in, welcome all, and welcome back to the Like That podcast with your hosts Nick and Nico. Saying my name second, saying the intro out of order. Third time out of we had so many technical issues. This is our third take of it, and of course the first two were good, but we're rolling with this one now.
Yeah.
With Nick, not only is Nick here, but it's also Nick's birthday. Happy birthday!
Thanks, man. It's great. 24 years on this planet. Been a long 24 years. But no, it's been a very good birthday, but also very excited to still do the pod because there's a lot to talk about, Nico. It's been a wild few days.
It's funny because this is episode 23 on your 24th. We were this close to having it be
I
pretty
know,
cool.
dude. I wanted to say that so bad.
It'd be like
last year, I just finished my Jordan year, and we're on the Jordan episode.
Yeah,
It's okay.
You almost
On the
had
Kobe year.
You almost had the first ever golden podcast episode.
Great.
But last
It's okay.
episode we talked about how we were gonna discuss free agency, and we're waiting till next week to do so. And it was such a good thing to do because once it started, it just took off. I mean, Schefter's, I don't know how much sleep he's got in the last few days, but it's been insane.
Yeah, dude. It like immediately started on Monday. Like, I feel like the deals started flowing one after another. There were a lot of deals that kind of just shocked me in a good way, and also kind of like, holy shit, I didn't know he was going there, or like I didn't even know they were having discussions. We're gonna talk a lot about it in this episode, but this is the best time of year, dude. I love this time in March, especially with the NFL season, because it's so unpredictable. You never know what's gonna happen.
Yeah, and so we're gonna be breaking down our some specific signings that we really liked that have already gone through, and then also given our like early offseason awards to picking our teams that we think have jumped to the free agent market early and have made moves to really push them into the next level. But before we get into that, I want to talk little basketball first. Go through our props, our prop discussion, who's been good, who's been bad, and even before we get there, I think something that needs to be addressed is the Bam Adebayo performance. I mean, oh my God, 83
Dude.
points.
Thank God we record on Wednesdays and not on Tuesdays, because if we were
I
off
would've been
by
so
that
mad.
on one day, yeah, that would have sucked. Like the 81 point game was one of those things that you never think could be replicated, and especially now, like how the game is played. Like, I feel like we're more accustomed to seeing teams drop like 150 points, which like the Heat did in that win too, by the way. Like 150, 160, like that's a lot. But like, I never thought we would get to the point to where we would see a player actually break the record ever.
Well, it's funny you say break the record. Are you a believer in the Wilt 100-point game?
Yeah, it's in the history books for a reason. Have to be.
Because I know that
I lo-
there people speculate online that it didn't really happen, and that in some people's perspectives this was the highest scoring performance in NBA history.
I, you know, I agree there, but I can't. I've been a basketball fan for so long, and I've just always heard about the Will 100-point game. I can't dismiss it. It's history, man. You go to the Basketball Hall of Fame, they talk about it. Can't call that fake.
Well, a large part of me thought, it's insane that we haven't seen any footage of it. And then, like you said, obviously Kobe had his 81-point performance, but when you saw the highlights from 81, my thought process on that is we're never going to see a performance like that. You're not going to see anybody, even get close to triple digits in a game. We've seen some 70-point games, but we watched Bam Adebayo just go out there and prove everybody that it is still within the realm of possibility of somebody getting 100. I mean, also 40 free throws in a game is insane, but I don't know how much of it you watched in the fourth quarter. It got pretty unethical towards the end, but I kind of love
100%.
I kind of love that though. Like the Heat knew that there was history on the line, and they were rooting to be a part of it, and I think that's cool.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, it's a team sport. Everybody wants to win, and I feel like being a part of that moment as a team, like, it just gives you so much. Like, this gives them a lot of momentum, just as a team going into the playoffs. Like, you have a player on your team that just set the record for the second highest scoring game in NBA history. Like, and it was against the Wizards. Like, like I just I don't know, man. It's a crazy game. It's crazy it even happened. But I'm glad it did because it's so cool to look back on it and talk about it and how they had like the whole and like especially because it was unplanned. Like I feel especially when you look at the last few years, like Curry breaking the 3-point record and LeBron breaking the scoring record. Like we all kind of knew like going into those games that was gonna happen. So we already kind of like expected it. But like stuff like this happening, we're like never thinking that a player's even gonna crack 80 again, and then he breaks it. It's cool. It's awesome to see that.
Well, I think, I'm looking up the list here just to show like all time, because when you look at this list, I think for the most part, what sticks out is, guys that were throughout their career averaging, at some point in time, close to 25 points per game, right? Like going through the list, you see Wilt, now you got Bam at number 2, Kobe, Luca, shout out David Thompson being up here, Lillard, Donovan Mitchell, like all these guys that are known just as straight scorers. And then you look at Bam Adebayo, the man that now has the second highest points in an NBA game, and his career high in points per game is 20.4.
Yeah.
It's cool. It's crazy. Other cool thing about it, his points per game average going into the game was 18.9, and after the game it went all the way up to 20, which after playing 58 games for you to get a boost of over a point after one performance, that's cool.
I was wondering that. I was curious, like, what did his points per game average go up just off of that alone? 2 points is awesome.
It went up.
That's
It
so
went up
cool.
1.2, which
That's cool.
is insane. But yeah, shout out Bam.
Yeah.
And I don't know about like it's probably gonna. People always ask like, where were you when this happened? Where were you when Bam dropped 83? And I don't know where you were, but I was at Madison Square Garden watching the New York Rangers, my first ever hockey game, and I'm with my family, 5 people that do not watch basketball whatsoever. I'm surrounded by hockey fans, and all I can think about is, oh my god, Bam Adebayo has almost 40 in the first quarter.
He did.
And then
he
he's
did have 40 in the first quarter.
and then all of a sudden he's at 60 in the third, and you're thinking, oh my god, what is going on? And yeah, 83 points. But I don't know if you were watching that game by yourself, but I'll forever remember being at Madison Square Garden for Bam's performance.
I was at work, but I was getting like the real updates, and like when you see like and like the game wasn't a blowout either. Like they were up like 60. Like it was still like I'm not saying like a blowout. Like they were up like 15, 16. But like when you see games like that, it's like, all right, he's gonna get pulled. But they kept him in. Spoelstra was like, nah, he's gonna get it, which I also thought was pretty cool because a lot of those coaches they're gonna take him out, you know.
Well, towards the end of the game, Miami was getting the Wizards were fouling other players on the Heat just so Bam couldn't touch the ball, and Miami was purposely missing free throws to try to give him more opportunities. So yeah, it was the fourth quarter the most ethical basketball you'll see in your life. No, maybe some of the most unethical, but is it a part of NBA history forever? Yes. And shout out the Washington Wizards for being a part of it.
Yep.
But yeah, sticking with basketball here, jumping into our teams of the week and our poop teams of the week. I'll start us off on the I'll give it to you on the question of, do you want to start good? Do you want to start bad? I think last time we started bad.
Yeah, let's start good. The vibes are high today.
Bam just going off. The weather's been good here in New England. Vibes are high.
Finally, no snow. The snow's actually melting.
Yeah, no, I almost have none where I am now. It's kind of insane.
Well, I don't know about you, but we're just gonna get hit with rain the rest of the week. But I'd rather that than snow.
Yeah.
So at least we got some nice
shout out the weather report. But my team of the week is kind of funny because overall they haven't been a good team winning basketball. They haven't been a good team covering the spread necessarily. But the Sacramento Kings are my team of the week, specifically based off their first quarter spread. In their last 10 games, they have covered the first quarter at plus 4.5, 8 out of the last 10. So, and I bring up this team, the Beam team, as the ethical tank. They're giving everything they've got each game, and for a team that's a bunch of unks. You got Russ, you got DeMar. They're from what it looks like they're making these games interesting in the first quarter, and then the rest is up to the draft lottery. But Shout out the Kings, man. 80% hit rate, going plus 4.5 in the first quarter. Next game, that might be a pick of mine.
I mean, what's that line at even? I'm curious.
What do you mean?
Like, what's their first quarter spread even at? Oh, plus 4.5. Oh, I see.
Yeah, like
That's
that.
interesting.
If it's 4.5 or higher, I'm gonna hammer it every time.
I mean, I don't think I would put my money on the Kings, but then again, I've put my hard-earned money on the Wizards more times than I want to admit this year. So, I mean, one thing that I've noticed, especially about betting NBA, is if the numbers say that it's hitting, usually it's gonna stay that rotation. That's kind of what I've noticed. Is just like the one thing about football is like the stats can lead you one way, and then it's like, yeah, the better team's gonna win. But this way, like especially with how teams based on how we're playing, especially with your poop team of the week that you're gonna bring up in a second, the trends tend to follow through. So hey, if it's hitting, maybe you'll see it on my bet slip too.
Let's go Beam. What about you?
For me, my team of the week, actually, speaking of the hot performance of Bam Adebayo, is the Miami Heat. In their last 10 games, they've actually covered the spread 8-2. And with this run, they're actually now tied with the Charlotte Hornets for the best record against the spread in the league this year. I believe they sit at 40-26. So they're covering at 60% this season. And also keep in mind too, well, not keep in mind, but it's a fun fact. They're the best team against the spread with no rest this season. So coming off back to backs, they're 11-4 against the spread, so they're hitting at a 70% rate. So yeah, kind of hot right now. Whether that's against wins or as well as underdogs covering the spread. But they've kind of started taking that hot seat against Charlotte, who, because they've been playing so hot, their spreads have just gone skyrocketed as favorites. So it's kind of been a little more difficult for them to cover.
Miami just finds a way sometimes. They made it. The last few years they haven't necessarily been like the top dogs in the East, but I think that it's a team that gets continuously doubted, and they exceed expectations in those ways. And yeah, if you look at how the roster's been the last week and a half or so, they've been pretty banged up, and you get an 83-point performance all as well. But yeah, go into our poop teams of the week. I mentioned Sacramento, the ethical tank that has been covering their first quarter spread. They won last night, and they beat the Indiana Pacers, which the Indiana Pacers. I see. This is the thing that I laugh about because is it really a loss for the Pacers? They lose this game, but now they have sole possession of the worst record in the league. So
they're 50 losses this year.
it's so bad. But
it's so bad.
10 of those losses have come in the last 10 games. They are the opposite of fire. They've been doing electric work. But not in those 10 games, you have faced some playoff caliber teams, but you lose to Memphis, you lose to Sacramento, like I said, and they lost back-to-back games to the Washington Wizards. So Indiana, I just picture the dog that's sitting in the house, the meme where it's just everything is fine. Because it's understood in Indiana that they're not supposed to be good. But yeah. I'd feel so bad as a Pacers fan. You want to talk about the high of your life last year, one game away from an NBA championship, and now you're one game away from being the second worst team in the NBA.
For me, it's it's another team in the East. My poop team of the week is actually the Milwaukee Bucks. 3-7 against the spread in their last 10. Their average against the spread when they lose is negative 13.4. So when they're not covering the spread, it's by almost 14 points. It's really bad. Giannis came back, so I actually did have faith in this team. I did bet them against the Hawks the other day when they were -1.5, and they lost by 20. This Bucks team's not good, man. If you look at their schedule, they played some tough teams. They had a tough loss against the Magic the other night. They lost to the Suns. March has been an ugly month for them. Also getting blown out by the Celtics and the Bulls. I mean, when they're losing games, it's bad. It's really bad. Their only win coming off of March right now is against the Jazz by 14. But yeah, this Bucks team just had a lot of, I feel like, narratives going into this year that kind of killed their momentum. The whole thing with Giannis wanting to get out, and then they weren't going to move him, and then he was just resting, and now he's coming back. But they really haven't found a good rhythm, and they're not a good team to bet on right now as well.
They had some pretty good momentum going right up to where Giannis was going to return. They were starting to turn the corner, and people were saying that, oh, this roster is better than we thought, and maybe we get a healthy Giannis, you go into the playoffs, they'll make some noise, and they just slammed on the brakes as quick as they could and went back to reality. But shout out the East for taking over for our teams of the week on both the good and bad side. We've got Miami, who's been electric against the spread in their last 10, and the same thing for the Kings in the first quarter. So, or I say the East, and the Kings were in the West. So whoops.
Kings are West, yeah.
And then the Bucks and the Pacers rounding out as the poop teams of the week. But moving into player props, my player prop of the week, gonna go to Naz Reid. I was also so off topic about Naz Reid, but you want to talk about the original, my name is my nickname. I know Drake May has kind of taken the stardom there, but Naz Reid, period. Like that was the nickname.
Yeah. Yep. He was having flags. He had flags of his face like everywhere.
And they would just have signs that say Naz Reid.
Yeah. It was awesome.
But specifically with Naz Reid, over 5.5 rebounds, 90% hit rate, going 9 for his last 10. You want to stretch that even farther, 18 for his last 20. On the season, he's averaging just under 7 a game. Why the sports books keep doubting him on the boards, I don't know. But if you've been just riding Naz Reid rebounds all year, you're up a decent chunk of change.
I like that. For me, my player of the week, Derek Queen, actually, on the New Orleans Pelicans. If you take over 12.5 points rebounds, it's at a 80% hit rate. It's hit 8 of his last 10. And kind of same thing. His line's very low, but he's averaging 16.5 points rebounds a game. So same thing. If you've been taking the over on Derek Queen in the last few games, you've been also making a chunk of change. It's kind of interesting to see like how these guys have been averaging, and then their lines are still low. I know it's matchup wise, but sports books, man, it's an interesting game to play with these guys. But
all the simulations, all the analytics, all the calculations, and then Bam Adebayo goes and drops 83.
Yeah, I feel it. I don't know about you, but going on Twitter this morning and seeing like all the tweets of people that took his under last night, like just blow up, have been really funny.
Yeah, that's gotta be one of your worst. Like, if I bet the Bam Adebayo under on this 80-point game, I think I would let everybody know. That might actually be my last bet I'd make as a sports bettor.
Yeah, I would retire after that.
But if we're gonna stick with the trend of bad bets, if you were a fan of Scotty Barnes and you thought, man, he wasn't shooting so well tonight, but he'll get it tomorrow, that is not what you want to do. Scotty Barnes' over 18.5 points line has gone 2 for its last 10, including 8 straight misses in a row. During the stretch, he's shooting sub 50% from the field. And if you want to stretch this even further, instead of 10, we want to go to 20. He's only hit this 35% of the time. And if you want to even go further from there, like, oh, he's not scoring so well, but the points rebounds line, 25.5. Also, the unders hit, or the overs cashed in 2 of the last 10. So Scotty Barnes has not been playing his best basketball as of late. Again, the last time I shouted out somebody off a bad game, they had a good game right after it. So maybe we're just going to see something come from this. But Scotty Barnes having to share the rock with Brandon Ingram a little bit more this season, and and now that BI is a little bit more into rhythm with the Raptors, it seems that Scotty's kind of had to take a back seat somewhat on his volume.
Well, I hope the thing of talking about how this player's been playing bad and then he's starting to play well after the fact doesn't bode well for my player, especially because I hate this team. But I'm going with Mikal Bridges. And that's just because he's just been bad all around to bet on. Like, if you bet on his over for anything, points, rebounds, assists, points, rebounds, that line hasn't hit in his last 5 games. Looking back on it, He went 0 for 6 against the Lakers 2 games ago in 27 minutes. March 4th, he shot 6 for 17 against OKC. He's only had 4 games with 25 plus points since the end of January. He's definitely taken a back seat. This Knicks team's also kind of had some like key losses in the last few games. I don't know if you've kind of kept track. I mean, especially with the Pistons, like the Celtics kind of have now like the full momentum of the Eastern Conference. So and a lot of that kind of has to do with just Mikal Bridges and like how he's just been so inconsistent. Because I mean this Knicks roster, I mean Brunson and Cat are going to get theirs, but they kind of rely on their role players. That's what they've been known for, especially in the playoffs. But yeah, Mikal, man, if you're betting on his overs, I'm sorry. I mean, no, my luck, I would be one of those guys, but I haven't really made any picks recently. But thank God, dude, because it's been ugly.
You just can't make this much money and have a goose egg in an NBA game. Like, I'm sorry,
I
Like,
especially this consistently.
you're telling me you couldn't
Like,
get two? You're not 5'8" in a men's rec league, all right? You're making
see,
you're making
this
30
is
million a
now
year.
this is where the people on TikTok are gonna comment. This is why podcast equipment should be more expensive because they're gonna be like, "Oh, look at these two guys
Listen,
saying you can't get
I
two."
I'm not asking Mikal to go out there and put out like a 30-point triple double. I'm not asking him to break any records. I'm just find the bottom of the basket once. You know what, Mikal? We don't need to.
Not even that. Just grab the ball off a miss. Just pull it down. Just crash. Crash a
Mikal,
little bit.
I
You get paid. You get paid all this money. Like you're telling me you don't have all the trainers. Just fucking get down there.
you're 0 for 6.
You.
Just run into somebody, get a whistle. Get to the free throw line. Make one.
That's what I'm saying. That's how the game's played now. It's pretty easy to do that.
You're known as the guy that plays in every game. Doesn't have a day off. But you know what's I'd rather have a day off than play in a game with no points.
Maybe he should get a day off.
Yeah.
Should hit the fucking gym. Maybe he should hit the gym.
You know what
Should get some shots up.
What are you doing if you put up again you're making over 25 million and you walk back into the locker room after you lose by like 13 points and
Brother, you know damn well he's like, oh well, I'm getting my check at the end
no
of the
you
night.
no
Like,
I don't know
you think he
I'm
cares?
ducking everything. I'm not looking at coach is talking about what
How
went
do you
wrong.
think MPJ feels after every game walking in? Oh, yeah, 3 for 17 from behind the
but
line.
that's the
Couldn't
Nets.
get it done tonight,
That's
coach.
the Nets. We're talking about the Knicks here.
Bad shooting's bad shooting. I don't care what team you're on. If you're the number one option, you got to make at least 7 of those.
Listen. I know I get it. I'm in a men's league. I can't finish a layup. But you know what? If I'm 6'9", $25 million, I'm putting the ball in the basket once a game. But so just ranting about Mikal.
Sorry. Yeah, I know. We just it's the Knicks, dude. I'm telling you. Anytime I mention the Knicks, just bad voodoo happens.
But let's switch it over to the gridiron now. Let's talk free agency here because there's just been so much that has gone on. One thing that I want to shed light on first that we didn't really talk about because it happened literally right after we recorded last week was the DJ Moore trade to the Bills.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's something Buffalo had to do. Some people don't like how what his contract is, but at the end of the day, this Buffalo wide receiver room desperately needed somebody that could make a play if it wasn't just Josh Allen doing everything. And DJ Moore didn't, I thought he was going to be better than he was in Chicago. You could argue some of it being, just like the overall like play calling the last 2 years and such. But I think when you look back on DJ Moore's tenure with the Bears, it's going to be viewed as a slight disappointment. And I know I think he worked with Joe Brady back in Carolina, so there's some chemistry that goes back there. So I have high expectations for DJ Moore going into this year with Buffalo, but I just think that's just a move that you saw and you're like, oh, this makes all the sense in the world.
Yeah, I agree. It's the front office giving Josh Allen that weapon other than James Cook. It gives some leeway off of James Cook of being the number one. I mean, it also just kind of goes to show like how we talked a lot about last year or last season, the Bills offense of everybody gets a piece. It didn't work. It clearly didn't work. They clearly needed to go out and get somebody that can go and make those plays, and we kind of did see that with DJ Moore still in Chicago. Like there was flashes. I mean, he was utilized a lot, kind of in rushing plays. Like he was in some trickery in Chicago. Definitely wasn't the player that they thought they were getting when he was in Carolina. I mean, when you look back at his Carolina highlights, it's two completely different players. But I hope he gets a bit of a resurgence in Buffalo. I think it was a good trade for them. I think he's going to be good with Josh Allen, and I think they're going to utilize him well.
Yeah, and for those wondering at home, like, wow, how is the number one Bills fan in the world reacting to this? Brooklyn was very excited. He was very excited for DJ
Yes,
Moore.
he was.
But yeah, so we're gonna split this into two into free agency and a half. We're gonna be talking about some of our favorite individual signings and just our overall like favorite teams so far this offseason. My one of my favorite signings that I want to talk about is definitely the Devin Lloyd contract to Carolina. I think that was a big surprise for me. I mean, Devin Lloyd's kind of been like the staple of that Jaguars defense, and to a Carolina defense that also desperately needs linebacker help. I mean, that was big. I didn't think Carolina was good, especially right after you see Jalen Phillips get signed by the Panthers. I didn't think they were going to throw big money at another guy in the defensive side of the ball, and they did. But now you look at this Panthers team, and you had Devin Lloyd in that mix. You have Derek Brown. You have J.C. Horn, and this is a team that's just coming off of a playoff appearance. I don't know. I think the Panthers. I like what they've done overall, but I think Devin Lloyd is a massive addition to that defense.
I mean, this defense showed flashes last season. I mean, they played really well against good teams. I mean, that game against the Rams. I mean, that Packers game as well. This they this is one of the teams that they knew dead set on what they needed to upgrade going into free agency, and they were perfectly comfortable with spending that money. I mean, Jalen Phillips, 4 years, 120 million. They gave him a bag, dude. That's a lot of money for a linebacker. But that goes to show that they're not fucking around. I mean, they already had an above average defense last season, and they were able to retain a lot of those guys, and I think honestly they just upgraded like a major fact. And I mean, this is a division too that I mean, it was kind of up for the taking last year, and you look at the other teams in the division, like the Bucks lost Mike Evans. I mean, Atlanta's kind of all in a frame, and now they got Tua, so they have a little bit of questions at QB. So if I'm a Panthers fan, I'm really excited with these two signings, and especially with how that division's looking right now. I think the Panthers have a clear case to take it home next year. Early, it's very early. It's still pre-draft,
Yes, yeah, because
but
one of the
going off very early right now. I mean, Panthers have really made some good signings.
yeah, you mentioned the division, and yeah, I think that division. If you were to ask me right now, who would you go? I think the correct answer is the Panthers. I think the fun answer is the Saints. I think the boring answer is the Bucks. I think the delusional answer is the Falcons.
I wouldn't even say the Bucks is a boring answer because I don't think the Bucks are even there right now.
Uh,
I think they have a lot of holes that kind of showed like midway through the second half of the season that they could have with some of these signings going to division rivals. It's kind of puts them in a hard place.
for the division as it stands, the Falcons are going off of their win total lines. Falcons sit at 7.5. Panthers 6.5. Tampa eight and
Really
a half, and New Orleans 7.5.
take that Carolina over.
-150 right now. So it's I think that's one of the heaviest odds as it stands. So that's pretty interesting there. I did not think Carolina was gonna be last there. But um, another crazy signing. This one came out today. Trey Hendrickson. I think this goes in part with how there's no way in hell we can't talk about the Maxx Crosby situation.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
but apparently the original plan was Trey Hendrickson and Maxx Crosby being on the field together. Like I think a lot of people saw the Trey Hendrickson signing to Baltimore as a quick pivot after the Maxx Crosby trade falls through due to the physical, and GM speaks out and says like the original plan was to put the two of them there, which that would have been an insane duo to see.
Oh, 100%. That would have made the Ravens scary.
But
But it's weird. It was just it like it was I don't know, man. Like they traded for him. It was so exciting on Twitter. Everybody was like, "Oh my god!" I don't know. I see this kid on TikTok. I forget his name, but he's like a big Ravens fan, and he talks about it. And then like not even 4 hours later, it's like, yeah, the Ravens backed out. It's like, what do you mean? Like,
well,
and then they go. It's just the discourse on Twitter is just so funny because they're basically like, "Nah, we don't. We'll just take our 2 first rounders back, and then we'll just pay the guy instead." Like that's basically what they
what
did.
what I'm confused about is why people are so mad at the Ravens for going back on the trade. Because in every other sport, if a guy doesn't fail or if a guy fails a physical, he doesn't go through.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but all of a sudden, all the media is saying that, the other GMs are saying it's a scummy move on Baltimore not to take that.
But
Like,
even if he like barely passes that physical, like you don't want to take on that whole headache. Like one example that I have off the top of my head, switching sports real quick, the Kyrie Isaiah Thomas trade. Isaiah Thomas got traded with a fucked up hip,
yeah,
and he played for Cleveland and wasn't the same player. Like they thought they were getting the 29 point per game score. Like it's just stuff like that where, especially with a player like Maxx Crosby's in his 30s. It's also kind of like you're trading 2 first-round picks for a guy in his 30s coming off knee surgery. So it's you have to have some security there. So I don't blame the Ravens at all.
well, it was funny because I asked one of my Ravens friends earlier before the Hendrickson signing happened, and I was like, "Would you rather have Trey Hendrickson?" Like I said ages like 32 to 35, thinking he was gonna get like a 3-year deal, got a 4-year deal. So I was like, phrase it as it is now. Would you rather have Trey Hendrickson from ages 32 to 36, or would you rather have Maxx Crosby? And I guess to the point of it being like Hendrickson at 2 firsts or Crosby, who's 2 years younger and maybe a worse knee. But
Yeah.
I think there are some really funny moments that did come out of this Maxx Crosby discourse. Like there was the report that Sean Payton paid for Crosby's charter flight to Baltimore as like a saying like thank you for leaving the division, never come back. And then it's been all over Twitter and Instagram and everything. But the Ravens fan that said I'll shave my head if we trade for Maxx Crosby, and then he shaved his head.
Yeah. And then sorry, buddy. But I mean they still got they still got Hendrickson, so I mean like you could just say I shaved it for Trey.
But
So it counts.
when you look at like everything that the Ravens lost this offseason,
It's still like it outweighs still a major ton.
yeah, like there's some big losses. You obviously lost Tyler Linderbaum, Isaiah Likely, Drummond Jones, Patrick Ricard, guys that have been there for a while. You lost a lot of staples on this team,
They
and
haven't extended Lamar either, which is pretty interesting too. He hasn't gotten a deal yet.
maybe I mean maybe this is a Ravens roster that's preparing for one last hoorah. I don't think you do that, but it's almost like they're doing it. It seems like it's part of the plan because again, you've subtracted or you've subtracted more than you've added. And
Mhm.
I'm no mathematician there, but I don't think that produces more wins. And their current win
No, and
line
I mean like
sits at 11.5, and the unders at -130.
yeah, I mean it's also just we saw how that division went last season, and so it's just kind of like anything can go between I feel like the Bengals and the Steelers. It all depends on how the Browns QB is going to play through the first 4 weeks. I feel like, but yeah, that Raven like you have a 30-year-old Derrick Henry. You don't upgrade at running back. You like you let your younger tight end leave, so you're going to stick with Mark Andrews, who like kind of already was getting the backseat at the beginning of the season. So it's
Well,
just
he got extended. I think it was known that they wanted
yeah.
to keep him around, but I agree. I don't. I'd probably keep Likely and work with him, but Harbaugh sees something there with the Giants. I think that's also going to be really cool for Dart. I mean, he loved throwing to the tight end, and Bellinger, he's out the door now. So Likely could
Hmm.
be a fantasy stud, which I can't wait to talk mock drafts come springtime. But
I
I
know
know
it'd
we
be
were just
cool.
talking about Baltimore. I know you highlighted somebody in the Tyler Linderbaum in the notes file. Somebody you want to talk about.
Yeah,
One of the best players on the market, and he goes to the Raiders.
Yeah, he goes to the Raiders. He also got a good deal, 3 years, 70 million. I mean, this is also good for centers in the league in general. Kind of sets the standard of like what these guys should be asking for. I'm pretty sure this
But
is like one of the highest deals since Frank Ragnow. I could be wrong,
do you know?
but
Well, it's the highest AAV that a center has ever gotten.
mm,
Um, with I think it's 20. I think he's making 28 million.
yep,
And the second highest paid center in the league, Creed Humphrey, is on a 4-year, $72 million deal. So
damn,
he's making 18 million a year. Tyler Linderbaum turns around and gets 27 a year. That's insane. To put that into perspective for like a quarterback, that's like that's like uh
and
if you take Dak Prescott's contract, right, and
you
you
just completely froze on my screen. Sorry.
I was gonna say you froze for me. I was like I don't know which one of us is lagging, but uh
Oh,
talking about Linderbaum here. So Linderbaum's contract, when you compare it to Creed Humphreys, is almost making 50% more than what Creed Humphreys makes. Which you put that into a quarterback example, that's like signing, a top 10 or a top 5 quarterback if they hit the market. That's like giving them 90 million a year if you take 50% off the most expensive paid quarterback. So Linderbaum's making a bag. And
he
I think
is.
that's the intention was to pay him without Maxx Crosby on the books, but he's still there.
He's still there for now. They're probably still gonna end up moving him if that was the plan all along. But really like this deal for Vegas. It's a really good starting point at upgrading this offensive line that needs a lot of work. But having the key piece that you have being your center is very important. And I mean, they already shipped out Gino. So they have a lot of wiggle room in the draft to upgrade at the line. I mean, you're going to protect your QB now, whoever that is, you're going to bring in if it's
Who do
through
you
the
think it
draft.
is?
I
Who do you think's the QB of the Raiders next year?
man, couldn't tell
You don't
you.
think it's Fernando? I think this is so
Oh, it's probably
obvious.
Fernando.
It's I think
Well,
it's
yeah, it's
yeah.
probably Fernando. Dude, I'm sorry. Mock drafts are. I've been obsessed with this. I forgot about the rookies for a second there.
Yeah,
I forget what pick the Raiders even have
the
right now.
draft
If
is
I'm being
right
honest with you,
around.
it's like pick what? Oh yeah, that's right. I forgot they had the number one overall pick. That's so my fault.
Yeah, Fernando Mendoza.
I'm gonna get exposed.
I'm
I'm gonna get
counting
exposed.
I'm counting him as a Raider. So
Right.
you put they've beefed up the O line. They've made some other signings. But we'll get into that
Which
a
I'll
little
get
bit later.
into.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But yeah, no, I think Linderbaum is such a sick contract. I think the contract that I think has a very interesting upside, but has so many questions, especially from a team that has a quarterback that they just released that is owed so much money already. And I'm talking about the Miami Dolphins and the Malik Willis contract. Malik Willis is getting almost $30 million a year, and he does not have a full season of play behind him. It might sound like a boomer take of me to say that maybe I'm not a believer in Malik Willis, but I don't think there was enough to show to really give us evidence that he's worth $30 million. And he's also, he was with the Green Bay Packers, sat behind a good quarterback, played with a good coach, and now you're going to a Dolphins team that no more Mike McDaniel over here, and they have weapons. They've made some signings on the O line, but I don't know if I love Malik Willis for $30 million right after I think total QB cap hit that the Dolphins are gonna have next year is like $100 million. So
Yeah, because they just let Tua walk. They didn't even try to get anything for him.
I mean I don't know what you get, but
Oh, I know, but
Dolphins signed Malik Willis
yeah,
for 30 million, and their win line goes from 5.5 to 5.5. So
yeah, it was weird. That was an interesting deal. I mean, I could see the appeal of Malik Willis. He's young. I mean, he's been in the league for actually kind of a little bit now, like almost 5 years, because he got drafted by the Titans, played there for 2 years.
damn,
What?
5 years.
He's been in the league for a little bit.
You know the Matt Damon meme of him aging?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He got drafted. I forget what year he got drafted out of Liberty, but he was on the Titans for like 2 years. He lost the starting job
Wait,
to
what? That was the Kenny Pickett draft, I think.
yeah. He lost who I'm blanking on who was the QB of the Titans that year. Will Levis, excuse me. Yeah, he lost the starting job to Will Levis. He was the backup for 2 years, and then he got picked up by Green Bay. So he's been in the league now for a little bit.
Wow.
So I can see the appeal. I mean, he's jumped from team to team, and I mean, whenever he started in Green Bay last year, I mean he led them. He showed that he can work an offense, especially when he gets subbed in. So for the price tag, no, but I can see the appeal. I mean, Malik Willis definitely a good player, underrated. I liked him when he was coming out of Liberty. Um, he's definitely a scrambling QB, and I know I mentioned Connor earlier before. I said last episode, Wildcat every play. I wouldn't say do it with Malik Willis, but uh, it gives this offense like a little bit more of like what they can do offensively. Um, Other than scrambling, it kind of utilizes they can utilize the speed a little bit more. So
Yeah,
I mean, it's again with the 5.5 win total. I don't know how much you're expecting this year, but I do think paying that much for a guy that you're not amounting. You're going into this season like just at least kind of try and compete. Like I don't know.
the way that I see this contract is you're paying for all of the upside. Like you said, you look at this guy out of college. He can run, he can throw. Like I mean, kind of basic way to say it, but he's just an all-around athlete. This is a guy that was like almost considered like a mini Lamar. So he showed flashes of that with Green Bay, and Miami's taking a risk that like there is some top tier talent in that QB. So again, do I love the deal? Not necessarily, but I mean, if you're the Dolphins, your other options are Kyler Murray, Kirk Cousins. End of list.
Yeah,
So,
like QB market's very slim
yeah, everybody flew.
right now.
We mentioned Kenny Pickett in
Yeah.
this draft. Just want to shout him out because he also got signed by the Panthers. Fifth year in the
Yep.
league, fifth team. But I see there's one more player you want to highlight.
For me, and it's not a deal that I don't hate. I just thought it was very weird because it was just one that I wasn't expecting. Travis Etienne to the Saints. He got 4 years. I believe it was around like 52, $54 million. Um, I love Travis Etienne. I mean, I was really happy last year of the year that he had, mostly just because I put so much stock into him fantasy wise, and he kind of won that RB1 job clear as day in Jacksonville. So I was kind of sad to see him leave, especially after the year that they had. But he did get it back from the Saints. Happy to see that. But it just kind of raised a lot of questions with what the Saints are going to do in that backfield. Like I know there's rumors that he's kind of on his way out. That kind of seems like it's now evident now. Whether that's a release, whether they're going to trade him, I don't know. But I feel like they could have went a different avenue and just kind of reestablishing at running back through the draft. I mean, they had Kendry Miller. He's young, but he's been behind Mara for a few years now. He had a few starts last season. I mean, he went on IR, but um, I feel like if they're trying to I feel like this is kind of just trying to replace the same play style that Kamara kind of was able to bring to the table with ETN, kind of like that receiving back play style. It's not Kamara, but I don't know. I just thought it was interesting. I mean, it's running back on the upside of his 20s. I mean, he's got probably 3 good years left if he doesn't get hurt. So I don't know. I don't hate it, but I just thought it was interesting. It was weird. It just raises a lot of questions of what the Saints are going to do in the draft. I would say more so rather than
Yeah.
what else they're going to do.
Well, yeah, you nailed it right there because I, for the last month, was like, Jeremiah Love is probably going to the Saints. And
It made the most sense, but now it's like you sign a 26, 27-year-old running back. Your starting QB, who you drafted last year, is going to be 27. Like, it's not. I'm not necessarily saying they're old, but it's like it's you have like 2 or 3 years, and then you got to start thinking about that same position again. So
well,
it's just I just don't see why with the pick you have there, you kind of had the opportunity to just like go out and upgrade in other spots, whether it was the O line, offense, maybe get another receiver to
well,
help Chris Olave.
I think if I can put myself in the shoes of the New Orleans Saints, historically running back is always been viewed as a position you don't invest heavy in. You look at Super Bowl winning teams and you look at running back salaries, right?
You
Most
can't
Super
really say that because the Super Bowl MVP was just a running back.
but he Super Bowl MVP was a running back, and they didn't bring him back. We didn't even mention Ken Walker to the Chiefs. I mean that's a big one
Yeah,
too. But great timing on that. But
yeah,
yeah, the team that just won the Super Bowl said, yeah, the guy won, practically won us this Super Bowl. I mean, granted, you didn't, Patriots offense was ass, but he carried their offense the whole game, and they said, you know what, we're fine without him. So you look at the Saints now, and it's would you rather, because like the run game was bottom 5 last year, and the O line really wasn't a problem, but like yeah, Kamara's old, so it's do you use a top 10 pick on a running back, or do you invest in it with your money right now? And while Tyler Shuck is still cheap, I guess it makes sense. You needed to address the running back in some way. I don't know if
yeah.
this much money to it would have been great. Like like this might have been, if you wanted to sign a running back, this might have been a good like Tyler Algier landing spot. I think that would have been a lot better here. But it's another weapon for Shuck to have in that offense. And yeah, maybe this turns around. 8th overall pick, you bolster that defensive line, you add to the secondary, or depending on who's the board, maybe you go snag your wide receiver too. So I think the Saints just viewed the draft pick more important than the money that they'll have, because realistically, I mean, ETN's not going to be here by year 4, so you're like, yeah, pay him for 3 years, maybe cut him in year 3. Makes sense.
Yeah, I could see it. I mean, if you explain it that way, it does make a little more sense because it's like now it's just a position that you don't have to draft and you don't have to wait to produce. Because by the time it depends on again. I mean, if it's Jeremiah Love there, then you're not really worried about that. But still, I could see the having the importance of upgrading elsewhere and having the running back position like it's already set. You already have an RB1 there.
Exactly.
So.
And again, once we get a little bit closer to the NFL draft, which is again right around the corner, we'll be doing an NFL mock draft, because with with the Saints signing a running back and the Chiefs signing a running back, all of a sudden it's like, where's Jeremiah Love go? And I mean, spoilers, I kind of want him to go to Cincinnati. I think it's a good fit over there, but we'll see in a little bit. That's going to be a couple episodes down the road. But to wrap up the episode, just really briefly, going to talk about some of our, like, the teams that we think have, really progressed in the right way. We didn't mention anybody that's signed from this team just yet. Well, I think I technically mentioned one very briefly. But I'm buying into the Tennessee Titans, man. I think I've been saying it every episode that I'm like, they're making the right moves, and they just keep doing it. I mean, you bring in Brian Dable, and Dable said, you know what? I want all my guys. I want my guys back from the Giants. Giants fans have had an interesting offseason because it felt like half their team has gone to Tennessee or has gone to, it's like they've had half the team go to Tennessee and they've had like half the Ravens come to New York just based off the coaching switches. But yeah. Titans, they bring in Wan'Dale Robinson. We talk about that wide receiver room, how they, you mentioned last episode how they have the tools to be explosive, but you really could use a veteran presence there. And you're talking about a guy that is pretty lethal, within 10 yards. He's a PPR weapon, as we like to say.
Dude, best fantasy waiver wire pickup I've ever had. Seriously, last season he was a PPR god.
You bring in Daniel Bellinger, another. They lost Chigakonkwo, so you bring in Bellinger there, and again 2 other Giants as well. You talk about the defensive side of the ball: John Franklin Myers from the Broncos, Alontae Taylor from the Saints, and they made 12 total signings this offseason. This is a team that's spending their money the right ways. Like, granted, they have a lot of cap space to do so, but you're doing as you should. Bolster everything around your second-year QB. Like, this is very similar to what the Patriots did last offseason. Taking flyers on guys and building that roster up slowly. So, depending on how this Titans team does in the draft, I am going to be bought in. Who knows? They will hit their win total. Maybe I'll buy a Cam Ward jersey.
This is so funny because this is the team that you were shitting on and complaining about, like, the episode 3 of the podcast, and now look at 20 later. 20 later, we're like, oh my god, tighten up, baby, let's go.
Because that win against the Cardinals was not fair. But I've spent 10 episodes talking about it. But no, I'll give them flowers where they deserve it.
Yeah, man, they've made all the right signings. Robert Saleh, Brian Dable, and now you bring in all these guys. Like, if I'm a Titans fan, I'm excited, especially with the draft too. Oh man, it looks good for Tennessee. They're doing all the right things. They're not going out and trying to just get like big name guys for Camp Ward with all the money that they have. They're not trying to overpay for the one big star. They're using their money wisely. I mean, 12 signings, but they're filling the holes, and it's guys that we know that can play. Like Wan'Dale Robinson he was the wide receiver one on the Giants last season, and it was kind of clear as day when Malik Neighbors was out. Obviously, I mean with the torn ACL. But as we mentioned last episode with Chimere Dike and Aomeyer, with Wan'Dale Robinson being there now, that's a solid wide receiving core. That's really good for Cam Ward. So, and especially if they can, upgrade at running back in the draft a little bit too. If they add a little more help with Tony Pollard and Tajay Spears, be a dangerous team.
Imagine
A
if
bit
they
of a
had Ken
sleeper
Walker, man.
team.
Ken Walker was right there.
Oh, dude, I know. And he didn't even. I mean, like compared to some of these other deals, 45 million for 3 years to the Chiefs. That's like, I'm surprised. I thought he would have gotten more. I mean, ETN got more than he did.
Yeah.
So
Well, higher AAV, so take it for what it's worth
that's
there.
fair.
But
That's fair.
I know one of the teams you want to talk about, very similar to the Titans. Bad team, had a lot of cap space, and made sure to use as much as they could.
Yeah, I'm going with the Raiders here. And obviously we mentioned Linderbaum earlier on, but they also went out and they upgraded their defense. They signed Quay Walker from the Packers. They got Nakobe Dean, who was kind of a big name coming out of college, and then he fell in the draft, kind of some off the field stuff. He was scooped up by the Eagles. But I think he'll thrive in Vegas,
He was also
especially
good in
with how
Philly, mind you. Yeah,
defense.
he was
Yeah.
solid.
No, he was still good, but he kind of had some injury issues down there, so that was the problem. And they also signed edge rusher Kwity Paye from the Colts too. So they've really made some upgrades on this defense that was awful last season. Really, if you really pay attention though, these guys are fast. I mean, they've really upgraded in the speed factor. I mean, Quay Walker, he's a fast, really, really fast linebacker. Kwity Paye's known for being pretty quick off the line. And they also traded Geno Smith. Gonzo, he's out. The 1 year of Geno did not last. They shipped him off to the Jets. But I mean, this team, they know that they're gonna be they're setting up for success defensively. They already know they have Fernando coming in offensively. They have Bowers. They're gonna build off of Genti on his second year. They also signed forgetting his name. It's really bad. They signed a receiver too.
Jalen
They'll come
Naylor.
to me.
I was
Jalen Naylor. They
waiting until you
signed.
were done to talk about
So
it.
sorry. So sorry. Signed Jalen Naylor too. Really good signing. This team's made some sleeper moves. I mean, no one's really expecting anything from the Raiders coming into this season. But with how the Chiefs look right now, especially at their QB place, I mean, they made some significant upgrades on the defensive side of the ball. I like it. I think it's good. It looks good.
I have to do my homework on what really the status is of Patrick Mahomes because it seems like he's going to be good to go at a pretty early spot in the season because their win line's at 10.5. So that's off topic, but something for another episode. When you probably should spend an episode talking about futures. That'd be a good idea to put a pin in that. But going back to the Raiders, first best meme that I've seen of the offseason, just as I mean we're both big MCU fans, but seeing Geno get traded back to the Jets, just immediately thought of Thanos. You could not live with your own failure. And where does that bring you? Back to me. Because there's a list of 15 quarterbacks in between Geno when he got drafted and Geno now, and it's a list for sure. But yeah, I really like a lot of the moves the Raiders made. I would overpay for Linderbaum if I was the Raiders. You have the cap space to do it. Nakobe Dean, I think, is another really standout player from Philly that I'm surprised wasn't brought back. And Jalen Naylor, arguably, I know Justin Jefferson was in that wide receiver room, but arguably the most consistent guy on a week-to-week basis. Mm-hmm. So they added a lot everywhere. And then, yeah, you just plug in Mendoza. They're clearly building everything around this guy. You've got your running back. If Fernando is just as good as he was in college, this is a Raider team that should be making some noise. I'm not saying next year, but you're trending the right way. Again, if he breaks out the way he should, this should be a playoff team in a couple of years. You just got to keep trending the right way. Right. And the other team that I wanted to highlight on my side is the Los Angeles Chargers. They haven't made too many signings necessarily, but I guess I kind of throw in, Mike McDaniel getting brought into this team as a large impact as well. But of their signings, they immediately addressed the O line. They went outside three O linemen. They bring in Alec Ingold, which I know to most people nobody really cares about the fullback, but Mike McDaniel, I guess it's a trend. These head coaches, they want their fullbacks, they want their tight ends going with them, because the way that it operated in Miami was, Tua was for the most part protected. I mean, a couple blindside smacks here and there, but McDaniel tried to vitalize, keeping his QB from being hit. And the Chargers, we knew how bad the O-line was last year. They go out and bolster three guys there. You add a fullback, you add a tight end. So I really like what they're starting to build over there. And yeah, we already know the wide receiver room's great. We already know the defense was doing great things, and you have Justin Herbert. So you get rid of that one hole, and all of a sudden, yeah, we're talking about the Raiders being good in a couple of years. I bring up the Chargers. We mentioned the Chiefs win total. AFC West is moving the right way.
It definitely is. I mean, this is also a team that they really seem to know the holes that they needed going into free agency, and they wasted no time in signing those guys. And they know that their receiving core is solid. I mean, you have three guys that if you put them on any other team with how they were performing last year, they could be a high wide receiver 1 or 2 with.
Yeah.
So I like the Chargers. I know we shit on them a lot last season, especially with that downward spiral, but defense is top 10. Shout out Brooklyn. Defense is top 10. Especially with how the division looks right now. I don't know if Denver can replicate their season 2 years in a row. It's going to be hard to do that. So I think they have a chance to go on a really hot run, especially this year, because when it's a division with no Mahomes, it's going to be up for the taking. A lot of these three other teams are going to be trying to get in there, try to get that.
Yeah, we might be seeing more Mahomes than we think. Again, I gotta figure that out too. We saw 10.5 seems way too high.
Yeah, that's interesting. And my second team on my side, I mean, we already talked about this team a lot, so I'm not going to go a lot into it, but Carolina Panthers. And that's just mostly because they really haven't lost anybody from this roster previously from last year. And this was a team that won the division, barely. But, I mean, just upgrading with Jalen Phillips and Devin Lloyd on the defense that was already so good last season, it just makes them even better. Bryce Young probably has all of the confidence in the world going into this season. You just brought home a division title. You made a playoff appearance. And not only that, you just had the rookie of the year on your team, Tetrio McMillan. He had a solid rookie season. I feel like it was quiet because the first 5 weeks, Emeka Ibuka was kind of taking over. He had a touchdown like every game. But after he kind of fell off, I mean, Tet was consistent and solid every single week. I mean, he had like 1 or 2 stinker weeks, but if he wasn't found in the end zone, he was still getting catches. He was still bringing in targets. I mean, I had him in 3 leagues, and he was a starter for me every week. I did not bench him. So I like the direction that this Panthers team's going. They're young on the offensive side. They have a lot of upside. I mean, they lost Rico Dowdle, which is really tough. But, I mean, you still have Chuba Hubbard. It clears up that, backfield misconstruction that they had, because they were kind of starting to have that problem where it was like they'd start Dowdle, but then Chuba was going off for over 100 yards rushing. So, I mean, Chuba was the guy from the beginning. You put a lot of stock into him. He was the clear RB1 before he went down. So it makes sense to keep forward with him. And you were going to have to pay one of those guys either way. And I think Dowdle getting his back to the Steelers is pretty good. And I also think, like, but the way the Steelers play, it was kind of the same play style as Carolina was doing. Because if you saw last year, Gainwell was getting a lot more touches than Jalen Warren was towards the end of the season. So it kind of evens out. But I like Carolina. I think the Panthers are good. If I had to pick a team right now to win that division, I would pick Carolina.
Well, honestly, if you were that guy, because I made a big whoopsie in the show, and I'm not taking a division winner when I said I should, and then it worked, because I think it was like episode 6 that I said Patriots to win the division is plus 600, or it was earlier than episode 6 because I think it was the week after they beat the Bills, the first matchup, that I was like, this would be an interesting team to take to win the division. But if you wanted to take the Panthers to make the playoffs, that current value is plus 250. So might be worth taking now. Throwing a little chunk of change on there. But the Panthers, they haven't unlike some other teams in this spot where like they've made a lot of signings, they haven't lost many big. I say big pieces. Like yes, Dowdle was big for the offense, but I think everybody knew that when you already have Hubbard under that contract, you weren't going to pay Dowdle. He was going to get a bag somewhere else. Cade Mays, their center, pretty big loss. Like he had a good year for the Panthers, but you go out, you replace the position, and if my choice was Cade Mays or Jalen Phillips, Devin Lloyd, John Mechie. I know John Mechie's not the most exciting name, but he showed flashes last year. And then yeah, you still bolster the O-line. It's a team that's just they're moving the right way as well. They've made two of the biggest top 10 signings of the offseason if you throw Lloyd and you throw Phillips in there. So I think this is a team that they're definitely on the up, and I think a 6.5 win total. I mean I have to double. I gotta go look up this Panthers schedule for a moment because it has to just be hell.
Dude. I mean, I'm curious.
So let me
something interesting.
2026. So they play. It goes like they go Falcons, Saints, Bucks, Bears, Lions, Ravens, Bengals, Browns, Packers, Vikings, Saints, Steelers, Bucks, Broncos, Seahawks, Eagles.
You got some toughies in there.
Decent amount of toughies in there. I mean, if you go off of last year, I think the only teams, if you exclude their division, of course, I think the only teams that were under 500 that they play next year are the Browns and the Bengals. And the Vikings.
Vikings. Yeah.
So, interesting there.
Very interesting.
But yeah, our teams that we think have exceeded expectations so far early in free agency: the Tennessee Titans, the Los Angeles Chargers, the Raiders, and the Carolina Panthers. But that is going to do it from Nick and I in this episode. Honestly, thought we were going to, I've loved every minute of this episode. Did not realize that it's been an hour. This kind of flew.
Yeah, neither have I, but this was a good conversation. I mean, what do you expect is going to happen? We had so many things happen in the past few days. It's
Maxx Crosby, he's gone. He's out the door. He's coming back.
You have to keep this in mind that Maxx Crosby, like that whole trade happened the same time Bam was dropping 83 points. Like this all happened within a span of like 2.5 hours last night.
And I know you're
it
not.
Was like,
I know you're not too big into baseball, but while that's also going on, the Crosby, the Crosby deal up in the air, Bam possibly breaking a record. Team USA was down 8-0 to Italy. Team USA, like if I could put that in NBA terms, like I don't know, that's kind of like I would say, if you go to like the 20 or like go to like 2008, and that's like saying the Team USA losing to Argentina without Manu. Like Italy has some good players.
Or them losing the Spain without Pau.
Yeah, like even that's a better example. Like the Italy, like they have some good players, but Team USA has the lineup is just ridiculous from top to bottom. Gunnar Henderson isn't even a starter. He's on the bench, and you were down 8-0, and as the time we're recording this, there's a chance that the U.S. doesn't even advance. They need either like Mexico to win by 4, or they need Italy to win by 6 because of like tiebreaker rules. So that's going on. Bam's dropping 83. Maxx Crosby, we don't know where he is, and I'm sitting watching a hockey game.
What a time, man.
What a time.
I love sports.
Socials, as always, like that _pod, posting pics, posting highlight reels, and keeping you updated on all things in the NFL and NBA world. But we'll be back next week, hopefully with Brooklyn, and continuing.
You miss Brooklyn.
Yeah, I do miss Brooklyn. But continuing our conversations on NFL free agency and probably talking about NFL awards. I think that's a good time to bring that up.
Yeah.
But we will see you guys next week.
Deuces.